Hi, Caleb. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, and we get to do from one podcast show to another. So I know you got a whole podcast. We'll get into that and recruiting firm. I'll go on and on. But tell us, I'm going to hand it over to you. Share a little bit more, if you don't mind, about your background and working in this financial services world. So
Yeah, I graduated from the Texas Tech financial planning program a long time ago before really anybody knew what was going on. And
yeah.
it was the early 2000s, and I was trying to get a internship in financial planning in 2001 and trying to get a full-time job in 2002. And if you studied the investment markets, that's not really when they were handing out jobs
Mhm.
at salary jobs at fee only firms where I didn't have a book of clients and really wasn't going to add much value and was asking for a salary. So it
Yeah,
was it was a it was a challenging time. But my father was an engineer. I knew I like numbers and math, but I just didn't
right,
want to do the engineering. And
right.
he kind of just encouraged me to do something in business. That was a good fit. And started out as a finance major at Texas Tech and absolutely hated it.
Okay.
Um, I was just in there with thousands of
Yeah,
people, and they were gearing me up to create TPS reports for some, Globo Goliath bank or something. And
yeah,
fortunately, just was able to stumble upon financial planning, after a
yeah.
couple of years in school, and it changed my major and never looked
Mhm.
back.
That's fantastic. So a little bit of adjusting course, right? As you go along. I think we all do that, right? A little bit of exploratory and hearing what you enjoy. How did you get to where you are today though?
Mhm.
Owning your own company and being on the recruiting side of things.
And someone asked me this the other day. I was like, well, actually, it was I think it was one of my high school buddies. Like, if
Yeah.
you would have asked me 22 years ago, or like where I could never have come up with this. I
Yeah.
never would have come up with this. So I went back to Dallas Fort Worth area after graduation. I was able to finally convince someone to take a chance on me, and it ended up working out for him and worked out for me. I was there almost
Yeah.
6 years. But I started as a full-time financial planner and was really
Mhm.
heavily involved in the Financial Planning Association of Dallas Fort Worth. And
Yep.
there was just I saw a lot of just job seekers have trouble. People
Mhm.
weren't as lucky as fortunate as I was, and frankly, they probably were a lot more analytical and better communicators, and
Mhm.
more gravitas and more polish, and they couldn't find a job, so they ended up leaving the profession. And I told myself, look, I'm great that I've got a place, but
Right.
we can't keep losing these
Talent.
people that I went to
Mhm.
school with. Like, they could be really good planners, and they
Yeah.
went to go become teachers and football coaches and bank. I'm like, look, that's
Yep.
all great and that's fine,
Right.
but we need you in our profession.
Mhm.
Sorry, I'm a little selfish, but we need you in
Yeah.
our
Gonna keep
profession.
you
And
over in this neck of the woods over here. Yep.
that's right. And
Yep.
and
You
so I was
see
just
talent.
like, hey, what can I do going forward through
Mhm.
FPA or whatever other channel to try to retain these people? And up at that point, everything at FPA was geared towards your 55-year-old
Right.
CFP business owner, bald-headed white guy. And I told
Different
myself,
clientele, different time in the, yeah, and the
yeah, I was
growth of
like,
the REA community at large too. So,
I was fortunate enough to get nominated for a board position, the career development directorship, and I got elected, and there was actually some age discrimination that I experienced back then too. And um, it just, I said, look, we're going to focus on career changers and new college grads. That's what we're
right,
doing. If you don't like
right.
it, go, you'll find somebody else
Yep.
to do this. And there's not a lot of people lining up to be, career development director. So like, okay, you can do whatever you want. And it ended up working out. We created some career day programs and
Yeah.
internship programs and all this do-it-yourselfer stuff.
Right,
And at
right.
the end of the day, I had these firms coming to me and saying, yeah, that's great, but can you just tell me who to hire? You're talking to all these people, and I don't know who the best fit is, and who the best
Yeah.
student is, or what the best
Yeah.
story is. And I don't know how much to pay these people. Can you just do this for me? And I
Yeah.
was doing that on a pro bono basis for a number of years while I was helping,
Yeah.
sole practitioner build a financial planning firm. And then I found out, 2006 or so, Michael Kitces was doing that. We met at a next gen conference, and he was doing that in Washington, D.C. So
Yeah.
we started laying the groundwork for an entry level
Hmm.
financial planning recruiting firm. Everybody's familiar with Robert Half and the big
Yes.
headhunters out
Right.
there that
Right.
want to place, people that are making hundreds and hundreds, millions of dollars
Right.
and hundreds of thousands and millions. And then the people that want to move books of business. We knew that was a red ocean, right?
Yep.
We were looking for a blue ocean. So
Yep.
we're like, look, we're going to come with this recruiting firm to try to help people get their, somebody that's making between 50 and probably 150, $200,000 a year. Okay.
Mhm.
So that's not an executive person.
Mhm.
And, they've got probably less than 10 years of experience. And we're
Mhm.
going to help them find jobs in salaried, financial planning focused firms where they're going to learn and they get to work on other, their existing clients and receive
Right.
mentoring from a team. And they're not just thrown out there with a phone book.
Yep. Yep. It's such a needed space too, because I think you see a lot of firms, right? And they have their clients, if they're doing a good job, they've got them there for a long time, right? So you want someone that you can kind of help to bring up as part of the culture, be able to really offer that to them. And that's still your focus today, right? I mean, I know your whole podcast is focused on that. Tell me a little bit more. So it sounds like you not only identified the blue ocean, went to the red ocean, right? But then like tell me more about like it's stuck, right? So are you seeing a growing need for this still in this kind of for this audience for placement?
Absolutely. I remember sitting around a conference table and Michael and I were just debating, and it's kind of like, well, why hasn't anybody else done this before? It's like, well,
Right,
because people they just do it on their own. They just get somebody out of college or they find it they're easier to find. And
right.
it's like, how are we going to get someone to pay us to do this?
Yeah.
And then it's like, wait a minute, isn't that exactly what they're asking their clients to do with them?
Hmm.
Their clients can do the financial planning on their own if they want to, but they're going to outsource it. So it, and frankly, I mean, like we've never like the client side is never, because I have two pipelines to fill, the
Right.
clients, the job
Yep.
seekers, and we've always had sort of a line of firms lined up to pay for us to do this for them, which is
Yep.
flattering and also exhilarating and good job security and helped me build a
Right.
career and been a lot of fun along the way.
Right. Right.
The challenge is just finding a good match, right? I mean, just because someone lives in San Diego doesn't
Right. Right.
mean that,
Right.
and they're in the salary range doesn't mean it's a good fit,
Right.
and some of the firm
So
owners are like,
true.
oh, okay, maybe I should take this a little, peel back the onion a little bit more, peel back another layer.
Yeah.
So it's just been fun to do that. We kind of have a niche carved out, and we've just been doing it long enough now where the
Mm.
firms that want, I mean, look, you've always got your outsource, they're doing their servers like, look, we don't need you guys. We'll just post on LinkedIn and we
Right.
get all these people. It's like, look, if that's what you want to do, that's fabulous. You do
Right.
that. That's
Right.
great. That's exactly like that prospect that comes to you and says, I don't need a financial planner. I can do it on my own. All
Mm.
right. Same thing. So, but we have a niche carved out. We're looking for delegators, and
Mm.
there are a lot of firms out there that want to delegate this hiring
Yeah.
because, as you probably run into, they're not that great at it. They don't do it often. It's
Hmm.
very time intensive, and there is some art and some science there that a highly compensated firm owner or financial planner does not need to be doing a lot of this stuff, especially on the front and the back end,
Yep.
right? And hiring a coach or a consultant.
There's a lot. I mean, hiring's tricky, right? Being able to find the right fit, comb through all the resumes, do the promotions, really kind of like get a pulse. I mean, every call that you have, right? It can be, yeah, you want to make sure that it's a good use of time on both sides too, right? So tell us a little bit more about these firms that are coming to you. I mean, how are you kind of helping to shake out the right fit or kind of even coaching them to go like just to even make sure the job description's clear. Like what kind of process are they coming to you and they're like, we know we've got this person, this is the fit. Are you helping them with the job description and coaching them up to that even before they open up the job? Like what does that whole process look like?
Yeah.
I'd just love to hear a little bit more about the advice you kind of give to firms as they're entertaining making a hire.
Sure. It's both to answer your question. I mean, we
Yeah.
spend a lot of time on the front end. I mean, a lot of my questions are like, okay, I'm asking about their business. How many
Mhm.
clients? What's the pain point? Like, okay, that doesn't sound right. Trying to do a lot of the practice management sort of diagnose, at
Right.
least at a cursory level.
Hmm.
And it a lot of times like, can you outsource this? Can we send it out to a remote paraplanner? Can we, is there a technology solution? So before we even get to hiring, because once you start hiring people, I mean, then now you're a business, now you're a manager, and you
Hmm.
might have been just wanted to be a technician or an entrepreneur, and you
Right.
now you're managing people. And
Right.
what I've learned is a lot of the firm owners and your practitioners who are technicians,
Mm-hmm.
that's not their skill set. That's
Hmm.
why they're not good at hiring. A lot of times they're
Yep.
not good at managing. No, a lot of them learn to be good managers, which
Right.
is
Right.
because let's face, I mean, they can manage their client relationships. Like you can, I
Right.
mean, managing people's a little different, but
Hmm.
so we're trying to help them figure out who to hire. A lot of them come in and they say, Caleb, look, I don't know what's out there. Here's what I think I want.
Right.
What do you think? Does that make sense? I love people like that.
Yes.
Versus the clients are like, well, this, like, what do you mean that's not out there? I mean, this is
Yeah.
what I was looking for. Like, what do you mean? Like, well, I'm paying a salary. Like, everybody should be applying to my job, and
Yep.
kind of having to walk it through with them. Like, here's the talent market, just like the stock market, it fluctuates. I mean, it
It
changes.
does.
So
It
it's
does.
fluid.
It was a very different situation when we were going through COVID and what the market was demanding compared to now, too. It's interesting. I mean, on the marketing side, I mean, we see it too. We have talent conversations. Was talking with another CMO recently, and he gave this analogy about how marketing basically is that kind of glove that fits across department and impacts the culture and how it's being shown up on the outside and all of that. So I think just kind of, to your points about there's a lot of thinking that goes into it, and then how you're positioning the job description itself is like a whole art onto it to it. Do you actually help with kind of the writing of the job descriptions and the
Yeah.
messaging and what is your team involved with on that side of things?
We handle it all. We're looking for
Okay.
delegators that once, I mean, they're the final decision makers. So
Yeah.
I mean, I want to make, we're the CFOs, they're the CEOs of the
Yeah,
situation.
yeah.
We're going to do all the legwork, everything,
The
all, and
grunt
then just
work. Yep.
bring them awesome people to look at and have
Yep.
them agonize over who to hire. That's our goal.
Hmm. Hmm. It's funny because sometimes we've had firms that we've worked with that have gone to look for the right fit, right? And they go through all this stuff and they realize that sometimes the input is not getting them the right output, which is sort of an
Yeah.
interesting piece of it. And the other thing that some firms that we've seen that we worked with as well is then they go, okay, well, we got all this stuff out there, but we realize like we've got a great culture, but we're not showing it off. Like we're not telling people that we've won awards, we're doing these fun things, or this is what makes us different. And I think that's one of the components to hiring too, is to
Yeah.
be able to say like how you differentiate yourself as a firm and as a culture. And if you're actually going to have, you're not just going in and being a transactionalist, right? That you're going to really be supported and what have you. How are you working with firms to help them think about that step even beyond just, getting the job description out the door?
Well, it's certainly, I mean, candidates pay attention to that, especially so your Gen Y, your
Right.
Gen Z. I mean, it's a differentiator, right? I mean,
Right.
they look at that. I mean, the awards, I mean, it's like, okay, what really happened for that person to get the award? I mean, is
Yeah,
it
yeah.
like one of those deals where you pay a fee? That's how, I mean,
I hear you.
but they look
But
at
it's
that
social proof,
and
right?
it
So,
is. And,
yeah,
and,
yeah.
and what I mean, just like having, people talk about their job and the day in the life at the firm and,
Yes.
some pictures on the social media account. I think that's becoming more table stakes now,
Hmm.
which,
It's true.
everybody's kind of like, I mean, you go to LinkedIn, you could spend all day, every day, just looking at new hire announcements. And
It's
it's not a
true.
coincidence
Yes.
that once someone did it, they all do it.
Yep.
Right. So and here's the welcome package. They get their umbrella and their
Yes.
laptop cover and their
Yes.
dog leash and their, baseball hat.
Sweatshirt and all the
Like
things.
it's
Yeah.
not a coincidence.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. It's interesting. What other things are you seeing on the market, just kind of in the trends, hiring trends, things that firms should be thinking about? Um, I guess just even in today's day and age. So
Little bit of a disconnect on the virtual thing. I kind of frankly, after COVID, I thought the virtual thing was here to stay and we were going to just kind of just stick with it.
yeah.
That hasn't really panned out that way. Most firms settled on kind of a hybrid, but you
Hmm.
still have a good subset of I would say 90% of the job seekers that send me something like, here's the location I'm interested in, but
Right.
also remote. Before COVID, they never knew that was an option. Like, there's no way if I'm
But like
if I'm in
100%
San
remote.
yeah, if I'm in
Yeah.
Austin, Texas, I'm going to have to move to Nashville if I want a job there. And now it's like,
Mhm.
well, no, they can just do it remote, and not all the firm owners are on board with that. So there's a little bit of disconnect there on the remote piece. But although the Gen Z, sort of the people that were in school during all they want the furthest thing away from all virtual that they can get,
Hmm.
because
Oh,
it was such a
interesting.
disaster. It was such a disaster for them. So like,
Yeah, that makes
um,
sense. I didn't put those two together, but yeah, yeah,
the other
absolutely.
thing I see is I mean, very, the impact investing, the ESG, the
Mhm.
society, the just the B corporations, what else? The advice only,
Yes.
those are sort of the buzzwords, those that catches people's attention and,
Mhm.
but also too, I think just, a lot of these bigger firms that have these super high, $5, $10 million minimums, they're
Mhm.
losing a lot of next gen advisors because they call me and they say, get me out of there because
Yeah.
look, I mean, helping someone go from 10 to 20 million is not very rewarding.
Mhm.
Helping someone go from 700,000 to a million and
Mhm.
retire, that's very rewarding. And I'm kind of more in that camp. So it's just something to, if you're a firm owner out there listening to this, that's got the big minimums and the big, I get it. It's great, great business, but
Right.
just, I am seeing a little bit more traction develop there.
Are you also seeing any unique models with how firms are structuring teams to be able to help bring up the next gen as well?
Yeah, I mean, Angie Herbers has done a lot of work on this, and
Yep.
I followed her. We were kind of got started in the same, that Diamond Team stuff. I
Yep.
mean, that's where most of the people, I mean, I rarely get people on the siloed model anymore.
Hmm.
It's all Diamond Teams. We want to try to make sure we can keep promoting, keep replicating and building
Right.
these out and making sure there's places for people to go so they don't have to go to another firm after 3 years because they got to wait for someone to die or retire.
Mm. Along with that, are you also seeing anything when it comes to firms segmenting against a particular audience? Like, okay, this is our team for business owners, this is our team for, pre-retirees, retirees, so on and so forth.
The larger, I would say like north of 10 billion, those
Mhm.
bigger firms are
Yep.
doing like professional athletes. You got your entertainers, your
Yes,
celebrities,
yes.
you got your business owners. And when they say business owner, they mean like Jeff Bezos
Yeah,
type,
right,
right?
right,
Like
right,
they'll have some specialties, but I mean, I think for the other, I mean, somebody you might have someone in a smaller firm like, hey, you're an expert in, Lockheed
right.
Martin, you deal
Yep,
with them or you deal with Coca-Cola, whatever it
yep.
is, but it's still pretty much just whoever they fit well with, whoever has capacity or whoever brings them in is kind of the mix.
Yeah, we see a similar thing too, and more of kind of that ensemble firm size where there's, like you said, there could be a general target, but then there's specific advisors that might own a particular audience, if you will. They've got the business owners, exit planning certification or so on and so forth. But it's like certifications or experience or just who their network is that aligns with that particular audience, which I would assume could be an attractive kind of growth path for someone that's younger if they have more of a sweet spot they want to narrow into, seeing that the firm is investing in them going after a particular demographic. So, super interesting. Um, any other things you think would be helpful to share just for, if firms are thinking to hire, things that they should do to prepare for that hire or initial things to be thinking about or you kind of that window of hiring?
Yeah, I mean, just look at the business. I mean, where do you need the help? And you need to get started probably before the capacity, you hit capacity, I mean,
Yeah.
that's where we see a lot of like, oops, I'm at capacity, I get calls like, small firms, they 300 million, 300 clients, there's like one advisor helping, an associate helping the firm. I'm like, there is no way you're not servicing all these people. And, you should have hired someone a long time ago. And
Yeah.
so that the timing, but also just the clarity, being very clear.
Mhm.
I mean, when firm owners come to me or the hiring people, the managers, whoever it is, comes to me and says they're clear on who they want, as long as it's reasonable, it exists, we can
Right.
find it for them. We can
Yep.
find it for them. But when they're like, we don't really know, we just need somebody up here just to try to get some plans done and get some climbing, like just kind of send us some people and we'll like that never works.
Yeah.
And like that's like the clients coming to them saying, hey, I don't really have any retirement goals. I just
Yeah.
want a big pot of money. And can you make that happen? Like,
It's totally
okay,
fair. It's like
like,
you're a unicorn, right? Like
I don't
something
know
you
what
can
to do
drop from
with
the sky.
that.
I'm sure you see this too. I can say with, owning a company myself, there are certain roles that we hire for, and we were hired more than once for them. We have certain people in a number of roles, but we've learned to refine the job description, right, over the years. And then we've also learned like how long it actually takes to onboard someone for that. So that impacts when you actually go to put that job description out, how long it takes to hire, and that takes time. And so I think one of the great things that, your firm offers is you're having all these conversations. It's almost like you can speed that up versus going through
That's right.
multiple years of trying to get it right and then knowing when you should actually pull the trigger and then what to look for. So, do you, by the way, that makes me think too, we use DISC as a training tool for personalities. Is there any kind of tools that you use as part of your hiring process to get the right fit?
Yeah, and there's a lot of them out there. So on the conative side, Colby Corp out of Phoenix, Arizona.
Mhm.
On the affective side, well, I mean, we've used Caliper in the past, Strengths Finder, we use DISC.
Yep.
There's a Profile X. I mean, there's the Culture Index, Predicament. There's a ton of them out there, and
Yep.
we do see a lot of firms kind of have their own. They probably have a consultant, at some point, and they've brought in something, but and that's what I recommend for firms. Just make sure you're testing all areas of the mind. So the cognitive, the affective, and then the conative,
Yep.
and to try to get a good sense on who you're actually hiring.
Yep. Makes sense. And I mean, those are especially, if it's someone that's in a client facing role, right? Really owning those relationships, but also supporting with the work itself. So it's reflective of how the business operates and shows up in the world. So not easy to find the right fit, but thank you. I appreciate your time and shared a little bit more about what you all do. So just to direct folks to your website. So it's newplannerrecruiting.com. Make sure to link below. And any final words, final thoughts?
It's a great profession. If there's any job seekers out there, I share this all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
I spend all day talking to people who are trying to get into this business. So the fact if you're in it, you pick the right one
Yeah.
and just keep doing your thing, and you'll have success.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Caleb. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.